Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. My name is Anthony, and on behalf of my co-author Christian, I will be presenting our paper entitled Understanding Digits in Identifier Names, an Exploratory Study. We are from the Rochester Institute of Technology and also part of the Source Code Analysis and Natural Language Lab. In this paper, we perform an empirical study on open source Java systems to understand why numbers are utilized in an identifier's name and how these numbers evolve when developers rename the identifier. The quality of an identifier's name is paramount for effective program comprehension as they convey the purpose of the code. Poor quality names can lead to drops in developer productivity and may also result in defect injection during maintenance activities. Hence, high-quality identifier names are those that are unambiguous and reveal the purpose and behavior of the code it represents. Since developers are free to construct names using a variety of terms, there are instances of names containing digits. However, prior work has mostly focused on names containing acronyms, abbreviations, or even naming styles. Hence, little is known about the rationale behind the presence of digits in names. Therefore, the goal of this study is to examine identifier names containing digits in order to determine the part played by digits in conveying the overall meaning of the identifier's name. Additionally, we are also interested in learning about the characteristics of the digits in the name. With regards to applicability, we envision our findings utilized in tools to aid in identifier name recommendations and appraisals. To this extent, we formulate two research questions. In the first RQ, we take a quantitative approach and examine the extent to which digits are present in an identifier's name and how they change over time. We look at the volume of such identifiers and how rename operations impact them. In the second research question, we take a qualitative approach to determine the rationale behind the presence of digits in an identifier's name, and we construct a taxonomy for the presence of such digits. Contributions from this study include a taxonomy for the presence of digits, details on how digits present in an identifier's name evolve, and a discussion on the importance of digits in names and the challenges involved in conducting this type of research. Additionally, our dataset is publicly available. Details on how to obtain the dataset is provided in our paper. Before discussing our findings, let me first give a walkthrough of our methodology. For this study, we utilized an existing dataset we constructed for the study of identifier renames. This dataset contains refactoring operations we mined from 800 open source Java systems. We used refactoring miner to mine the refactoring operations. The dataset contains around 28,000 rename operations. The next part of the process involves the filtering of identifiers. As our study is about digits, we had to exclude identifiers that did not contain digits. We achieved this using a regular expression. Once we obtained the list of identifier names containing digits, we split the name into its constituent terms. We utilized the well-known identifier name splitting utility to perform this splitting. Next, a manual examination of the names in our dataset showed the excessive presence of automatically generated code, the majority of which were related to Antler. We then analyzed the patterns in how these names were generated and utilized heuristics to exclude the majority of these names. In the end, we were left with around 15,000 rename operations for us to analyze and answer our research questions. To answer our research questions, we followed a mixed method approach where we performed a quantitative and qualitative analysis on the data. Our quantitative approach utilized well-established statistical measures and custom code to report on trends and patterns. On the other hand, our qualitative approach relied on a manual examination of the names and code. Now, let's look at our findings. In the first research question, we analyzed how rename operations impact the presence of digits in a name. Our findings show that developers frequently preserve the digit in the name when performing a rename. It does not matter if the value of the digit changes, the new name will still contain a digit. As seen in the first example, where there is still a digit in existence in the new name after the rename operation has occurred. Next, on analyzing all instances of preservation, we see that most names contain only a single digit in the name. The number of digits in the old and new name are usually the same. And finally, the position in which the digit appears in the name is usually preserved, and that position is usually the second token in the name. This can be seen in the last example at the bottom of the screen, where shade 2 is renamed to shade 2 figure. In both instances, the number 2 is the second token in the name. The second RQ examines the meaning conveyed by digits in a name. We undertook a qualitative approach to answer this research question. The two authors analyzed a stratified statistically significant sample of names and the code associated with these names. Our analysis yielded a taxonomy of 6 categories showing how digits convey meaning in a name. The 6 categories are auto-generated, distinguisher, synonym, version number, specification, and domain or technology. Let's quickly look at each of these categories. The auto-generated category includes names that are auto-generated by tools or IDEs. These names are sometimes not easily comprehensible, as shown in the example, and the meaning of the digit depends on the generation technique. Names that usually have a digit as the last token fall under the distinguisher category, where the digit performs the role of a distinguisher. Furthermore, there should be at least 2 identifiers having the same lexical name. Developers use such names to avoid name collisions at compilation time. Under the synonyms category are digits that are utilized by developers as substitutes for words. For example, the number 2 is used as a synonym for the preposition to, as in convert to list. Developers also utilize digits to signify a specific version number of a system or library that is compatible with the code. Under the specification category, developers utilize digits to represent some type of specification or behavior or even characteristic related to the functionality of the system. For instance, the size of a font. Finally, it is also possible that a digit is part of a domain term or technology name. In the example, the attribute self for J log level is associated with the functionality related to the self for J API. This study examined the presence of digits in identifier names and the evolution by studying the renaming of identifiers. Our findings show that developers consider digits as essential elements in an identifier's name and utilize such digits to convey a specific purpose. Moving on, we will look at some of the key challenges and takeaways of this study. Since our work is analyzing the names that developers craft, the occurrence of auto-generated identifiers in the code base can cause us to make incorrect claims based on the data. This includes when performing quantitative tasks and generating samples for qualitative analysis. Hence, it is important to exclude auto-generated code or at least to limit the volume of occurrence. Automatically detecting such code can be challenging as generators do not use a standard technique, so it involves a lot of manual analysis to look for patterns. Furthermore, there will most likely be multiple iterations of the data extraction process in order to determine the heuristics required to exclude such names. Finally, since there isn't much in terms of prior work on digits in identifier names, we did not have an opportunity to compare our findings. Furthermore, as our RQ2 findings show, numbers can have multiple interpretations and, in most cases, require analyzing the surrounding code and knowing what the project is about. The findings from our RQ support the community through a series of takeaways. The first takeaway shows that digits are preserved post-rename. This is extremely helpful for researchers working on tools and models around improving identifier name appraisals and recommendations. Furthermore, there are also instances of developers using generic terms such as arg or parameter and appending a digit. Tools can look for such instances and inform developers to provide a more specific name, a name that reflects its purpose. The second takeaway is about the meaning conveyed by digits. This finding can assist in determining if a digit is related to its associated code. Furthermore, the digit can serve to build a catalog of technologies, standards, or domain terms utilized in the project, which serve as input into project or code summarization. Before I wrap up my presentation, I want to quickly introduce the identifier naming structure catalog that our lab has been working on. This is a public resource for educators and researchers who want to learn more about identifier naming and also if they want to find material that they can use in their course. The catalog provides a summary about naming practices, including definitions about part-of-speech tags and linguistic terminology. The catalog also provides details about common naming structures and linguistic anti-patterns with appropriate examples. The catalog is built using findings from our past studies and also work done by others in the field. We encourage the community to contribute to the catalog and are open to suggestions for improvements. If you want to contribute to the naming catalog, or if you want to learn more about what we do, visit our website at scanl.org. Thank you.